Let's talk about your new record, Chase the Sun. As Chase the Sun began to take form and shape, I mean, what were the themes and subject matter that you felt primarily compelled to cover with this body of work?
For me, I wanted to say something more positive and something that people could actually take a message away from. My last album was a little bit more negative and a lot more like I was pointing the finger towards other people to sort of blame my troubles on everybody else. And this album, I definitely felt like I'd matured and I'd learned a lot, and I wanted to give a better message, a message that made people feel good and made people think a little bit more.
You know, with the styles and techniques, you know, for Chase the Sun, what was the key transition? I mean, you know, the same guitar kind of like, you know, essence is there, the piano, but was there anything that you wanted to incorporate with the instruments that was different this time around?
I wanted to make it more accessible. Actually, my last album was very. There's a lot of unique sounds on it. It was very interesting, and this one I wanted to reach more people. So I wanted to make the music. You know, I wanted to make the songs more about the message and the lyrics, and and make the music more accessible to a wider audience, really.
Tell us about, I understand you like to get inside other people's interesting stories and tell them, and that's something that's important to you to project, you know, those kind of stories. What is it about that really resonates with you?
I'm not sure. I feel like ever since I was a little kid, I've always been quite an empathetic person, and I've always enjoyed imagining what it would be like to be other people. And, as a singer-songwriter, it's very typical for us to write about ourselves and our own lives and our own troubles, but eventually you run out of things to say. And I think I really enjoy talking about other people because it allows me to try and understand how they feel and and what they're going through, but it also it allows me to say more. I think it's more interesting than just singing about my own life all the time.
Let's talk about the record, Chase the Sun, and I wanted to get your views on a song you've had many rave reviews for, Hold On Tight. I mean, I wanted to ask you, about the instrumentation. I mean, when you were fleshing out this song, was there a certain direction that you wanted to take it in, or was it an organic approach, or did it just kind of come to fruition for you?
It just felt that way. Me and my friend Topher, we wrote that song together, and the guitar was just very rhythmic, and it just felt like it needed the toms. It needed to feel like this anthemic, just roaring rock song. That's what we tried to create anyway.
And with a song like Bulletproof, what are the origins of a song like Bulletproof? I mean, what does it convey to you personally?
The song, it's funny, I don't often get asked about that song. That song it's about trying not to be selfish. You see every day, you look everywhere and everyone's sort of obsessed with their own lives and their own thing, and they forget about other people, me included. And that song is about trying to understand that, there are other people, that have their own stuff going on, and it's important to understand that.
And album closer, The Next Life, I mean, it really ends on a sort of like a positive note. And was it a nice touch for you to kind of have optimism in regards to the topic of death?
Yeah, I think it's important that we all have that. We dread death, and of course we do, because no one wants to die. But I think that as soon as you sort of let go of the idea that that's the only thing we know is going to happen in life. We don't know if we're going to get a job promotion. We don't know if we're going to be rich, but we do know we're going to die at some point. And this doesn't have to be a depressing thought. And once you sort of let go of that fear, you start to enjoy life more. And I wanted to sort of give that message off in the song. And
you mentioned, I mean, it's something that in the West, it's seemingly sort of terrified about it, the notion of death, but in the East, whilst they are sad, they're celebrated. I mean, did your travels kind of, pique your interest with this kind of song in terms of the way you wanted it to be, the outlook of the song itself?
Yeah, I mean, my travels had a huge impact on me, and my travels through India and Nepal, they definitely changed my perspective on life. And of course, in India, death is like this thing that they absolutely celebrate, and it doesn't feel like they dread it at all.
And that was during the album that you had previously written, and you went to India, and all of a sudden, you offered this new kind of perspective, and you weren't in a positive state of mind. I mean, how much of an eye-opener was that for you?
Massive. Yeah, it was massive, because I think going on that trip made me realize how lucky I am and how little I should be complaining about my life and what I've got going on, And that perspective, I didn't want to come home and just keep that to myself. I wanted to share it with as many people as possible, which is sort of what Chase the Sun became, was me trying to share that message.
Something else that was very special to you, I mean, a song of yours that's been lauded, The Lost Boy. I mean, the song was in relation to the book by Dave Eggers, What is the What, about a Sudanese refugee, and you met this Sudanese refugee, and that was must have been quite the experience for you.
It was a total full circle, bizarre moment, and he knew who I was too. He'd heard the song, and so it was really hard to talk to him and not cry, actually. It was so overwhelming because, when I wrote that song, I had no idea that I could ever meet the guy that I wrote it about,
How important is artistic freedom to you?
Totally important. I mean, it's the reason I do what I do. If I was told by somebody that I have to write something that I wasn't comfortable with, I mean, no one's going to make me do it. I've spent my entire career, trying to own as much of this as I possibly can, and I'm still in a good situation, and I do have full artistic freedom, and it's so important, especially if you're trying to say something. I mean, if you were just happy to sing whatever and you just love singing and performing, it's great, but I feel like as a singer-songwriter I have a duty to say something important, and it's totally the most important thing.
I understand you live in Park Slope in Brooklyn, and you mentioned you never leave your neighborhood. What's that about? I mean, you're inside, you're cooking Indian food, but you don't like to leave the neighborhood.
Yeah, I used to really love walking around Manhattan and exploring the city, but I've been there a long time now, and I'm touring all the time. I'm always moving around, so when I get home, I'm sort of a homebody. I just want to be at home and, I don't know, just be completely boring.
For your upcoming work, you mentioned for future work that you're going to have an entire album of characters that are not you, something that really intrigues you. I mean, what can you tell us about that? What prompts this kind of direction? Again, is it what you stated earlier? It's just something that you like to project your thoughts from?
Yes, I mean, I really enjoy writing about other people, and I also write better when I have a brief, when there's something that there's a story. All my favorite songs that I've written are ones that are about a specific story, like The What is a book. So there was something to grab onto. So I've started writing these characters for the next album, and I'm trying to figure out how they can all come together and be intertwined with one another, and so that's going to help me write the next thing.
I wanted to ask you about some of your tweets, Greg, and here's one. Few things make me more worried for humanity than selfie sticks.
It's true. We've created this age of narcissism that is becoming an epidemic, I think, and the selfie stick is like the final nail in the coffin for me.
Is it concerning to you that, it's just not much actual human interaction going on?
Well, we've created this society of this look at me society. People can't even go. I mean, I'm guilty of it too, I'm totally guilty of it. But, we have to document everything we're doing and tell everybody that we're doing it. And I feel like it takes away from the experience, I find that when I go to a beach, my first instinct is to take a picture and put it on Instagram. And I'm like, why can't I just go to the beach and be in it?
Absolutely,
And it's sort of scary that we're all becoming these, like, people that need validation all the time. And, it's worrying.
Tell us also, I mean, you've mentioned if only life could always feel like it does after 2 glasses of wine. So now we know what you're doing in your apartment in Brooklyn.
I don't know. I gotta stop tweeting stupid stuff. It's gonna come back and haunt me. I don't know. Life does feel pretty good after 2 glasses of wine.
And finally, Greg, as you head forward, what is the key dynamic that you hope to maintain and stay true to?
My integrity. And putting out quality music. And not letting go of the fact that it's important to say something.